I'm really sorry guys, I didn't do my hair for this video. I know I should look presentable for you guys, but it just wasn't happening this morning, so I look like this. Today we're working on my E36. We're over at Night Owl Performance, getting it ready for Clutch Kickers round 3 next week. Several things to do today. First we have to change the O2 sensors. So there's a couple different O2 sensors for my model engine. One is case grounded and one is isolated ground. And whichever one I had in it before, we always had some funky readings on HP tuners. So we're gonna try the other ones to try to get those readings correct. We also think this is why my engine kind of richens up at idle. So we're gonna check that. We have to check the wiring for the temperature sensor. So this could be another reason that I'm running so rich at idle. But actually full throttle and above like 5% throttle, we're not rich at all. So it works past that. So we're trying to fix the little idle issue. And I'm gonna check the wiring on the temp sensor. We have to heat wrap some things to try to get my oil temperatures under control. My oil lines run very close to the driver's side header. So we're gonna try to get that wrapped. We're gonna try to wrap my wastegate dump tubes because my coolant lines are very close to those. And when I'm doing a lot of redlining or very high or very hard on the throttle, my coolant temps jump significantly. I'm thinking it's specifically because of those wastegate dumps. And we're gonna set the car up better for Emerald Coast Dragway. So last week when we were at Emerald Coast Dragway, the car was really fast but very difficult to drive. And that's because it was just set up really loose. The front end was set up very loose, the rear end was set up pretty loose. What we want to do is tighten that up so that we can rotate more around the front end rather than push it out. So pushing the front end out is good for big tracks with big sweepers, but Emerald Coast is tiny. And it's also extremely slick. So we're gonna try to grip up the back, grip up the front. We're gonna change the gear ratios so that I can pour more smoke basically. So I can stay in third instead of second and have more wheel speed. We raised the red line to 7,000 RPM to have more of an RPM range in boost. So if I'm in third and I'm on a tiny little track, we're going to shorten up the rear gears, and I'm also going to clutch kick in a lot higher RPM to keep the wheels spinning in third instead of having to drop down or second or shift or whatever. And we're going to try to tune that in with the quick change rear end while we're there, but I have a pretty good idea where it should be now. Let's get to work. You can barely see it in there. It's right there. That's the new case grounded oxygen sensor. And we got them both in already, so those are good to go. We're going to check it out with HP tuners later today. My old ones are over here. These are Delphi sensors with isolated grounds. All these sensors have the same stupid trapezoid plug on the end. So it's really difficult to tell which one is which because they're wired differently, but they look exactly the same. The biggest difference is these slotted holes on the Delphi ones are circular holes on the Denso ones. So these are isolated ground and the Denso ones are case ground. And that's the difference. And it's wired different in the ECU. So you have to have the right ones, and it's impossible to tell them apart besides those slotted holes. I also got this transmission tunnel made for Action Spence here. He's over there. What up? But we made a nice frame out of 3/8 rod. Made nice plates to cover it and bead rolled the plates. So it looks really trick from the inside. But it's on the lift, so I'm not going to show you guys that yet. But came out pretty nice, much nicer than mine did. And it's damn near center. Alright, so my temperature sensor is kind of reading a little off, and the temperature sensor is located right here. And it's kind of doing some funky things too that we really can't explain. So I replaced the temperature sensor last time that we dynoed it, but now I got to check the wiring to make sure the wiring's right. And guys, I need 2 hands for this, so you're getting mounted to my crash bar here somehow. So, I've got Night Owl's trusty power probe, and tube's right in the way. And we're gonna check. I don't know if you guys can see the screen. We're gonna check for voltage and ground. So, one should be 5 volts reference, and one should be ground. Check this guy. We got ground. That sound means ground. It's putting out 0 volts. The ignition's on, so this one should be 5 volts because it's reference. And we got 4.96 volts coming out of it. So the only possibility is that the sensor is bad or the wiring is reversed on the ECU. So I'm going to check the continuity. First, I'm going to check the continuity between the wires to determine which one is which on the ECU side. and then I'm going to check the pins in the ECU to make sure they're in the right spot. Alright guys, sorry it's a little dark in here, but I got my ECU out here. And this connector here is the blue connector, and pin 74 is the coolant temp sensor signal. So this yellow wire here, right here, should be the ground on the other side. So we're going to check for continuity between the ground on that side and this wire right here. Alright guys, so I cut pin 74, which should be the sensor signal. And when I went back out here with the ignition on to check the plug, this plug right here that we checked earlier, I cut the 5-volt reference signal, which means this plug is wired backwards. This is the cause of my coolant temp sensor issues. So I'm going to reattach that wire that I cut. I'm going to cut this plug off and swap it around, and that should fix it, because my reference voltage was actually what I was getting for signal voltage, which is wrong. Alright guys, so it turns out this was wired correctly, it wasn't reversed. But my O2 sensor grounds returned to pin 63, which I'm not using anymore because I'm using case grounded O2 sensors. So we jumped the ground from the coolant temp sensor to pin 63, and
got airfield.
Where I used to run like low 10s at idle, we are really lean at idle, which is really good. E36 should be around these numbers at idle. We rev it up, we actually get some change. So the tuner's going to come back, we're going to check everything out. This is looking really promising. I'm going to try to wrap the header with it still on the car. Let's see how this goes. This is really going to suck. But it might suck less than taking my whole front end and turbo kit off, so we'll give it a shot. We got 50 feet to pull through.
Not us hot boys. By hot boy, I mean you get the car hot. Not the car looks hot. Man. I'm just kidding. The car looks hot.
That exciting?
E36.
That was like, oh, we have one of the most stylish cars here against one of the most comp-looking cars here. Like, I think that's a compliment, buddy.
I think your car is character. I like it.
Yeah, it has a lot of broken panels and character. Thank you. You sure you don't want to do it?
No, I'm good.
It's cool, man. It's wicked fun. I tell you guys I'm a genius, but I made this cool tool here out of a spare piece of aluminum to push the wrap under the header and back so I can reach it. So wrapping the header with it on the car is not a genius move, but this is a genius tool. I just finished wrapping the headers, well the one header, and did it come out pretty good? It came out okay. Did it take the least amount of time to do? Probably not. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy at all. But it beats taking all this off to do it, so usually I like to do more work to do less work, but in this case I just did a lot of easy work instead of doing a short amount of hard work. So the important part is it's done, and I hope the effort makes my oil temperatures cooler, because you can actually see the oil line right here. I mean, it runs very close to them, and I hope it really makes a difference. Got the wastegate dump tubes wrapped up too. There's nothing around this one, but this one here is very close to that coolant line. This is the other thing. I always have to like miss these. So before we had a 317 in here for the gear ratio, which put me in second around Emerald Coast Dragway. But I was redlining a little too much. So we're going down to a 2.9 so I can stay in second gear, have a little bit longer to a red line. And also we went up on the RPM red line. So we're revving to 7,000 RPM. We're gonna get a little more wheel speed out of this, pour a little bit more smoke, and we won't have to shift out of second. So first into second, straight into the track, never have to shift into third. Plenty of wheel speed with a 2.9 rear end. All right, we're back at my house. Car's basically ready. We did everything I intended to do except for get the car checked over by the tuner. So hopefully he's gonna come out in the next couple days and just make sure the idle's okay and everything after those changes we made to the sensors. I think it's okay in boost, but we might actually be able to pull a lot of fuel out at idle, which will really help with the fuel consumption because I can literally idle away a whole tank of fuel right now. We got all the tires I need mounted. The car's all loaded up in the trailer here. So we are good to go, I think, for clutch kickers. I might fix some cosmetic things later on this week. But other than that, the car mechanically is all ready. So if you like this type of content, please subscribe to this channel. Like this video if you like it. Tell your friends about this channel. And I'll see you guys next week at Clutch Kickers.